Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster, Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed Black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Welcome, my truth warriors and mythbusters. So I'm assuming everyone has been watching the Super Bowl game, and I just walked into the studio and I didn't see the end of the game, but I think, Jeff, who won? I think they were in the fourth quarter when Patriots won 13-3. I mean, it seems like the Patriots have been in every Super Bowl game since the last 20 years. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it feels like it. I know when I lived in Tucson, they were in the Super Bowl game. And that was like I was in Tucson in 2002. So yeah, they're in the Super Bowl games a lot, huh? I mean, well, anyway, so I think most people are probably watching the game. It's over now, so they can now come and listen to the Naked Truth Report, right? So there are a lot of things that I want to talk about today because every day, every week is sort of chock full of stuff worth talking about. One of the things I want to say is that I'm so disappointed. When I watch TV, I'm just so disappointed in the mediocrity, in the level, in the way in which the arguments are shaped. The way in which the political arguments are shaped. So first, let's talk about this Virginia governor thing. As Dennis Prager said, human nature is pretty screwed up, right? So if you start from that premise, human nature is screwed up, you're not going to be just like constantly, blaming people for stuff. You're going to know that human nature is screwed up. It's like insecure and jealous and vain and greedy and selfish, all those negative things. It's the rare person that has integrity. It's the rare person that has that is altruistic and generous and good-natured and honest. That's the most important thing. But you don't expect honesty from politicians. We have years of evidence. To know better, right? We know better than to think that, this is the amazing thing. And, I should have titled this show again, Democrats voters are the most illogical and unknowledgeable voters, part 3 on the planet. But I didn't title this actually, because I'm having a guest and in fact, I'm having a guest because I want to talk about that school choice 2020.org. I went to an event yesterday where, and I spoke about it last week with Mike Alexander, which is the show before mine. We talked about school choice. That's an important thing that not teachers, but parents have school choice. They're your children. You're the parent, so you decide. You choose what schools your kids go to, right? Because the Los Angeles School District is failing our students. The level of achievement, the standards are so low. So I went to the School Choice 20, and you can go check out the information at the website schoolchoice2020.org. And so I'm going to have as a guest Gwen pastors Charles and Gwen Patrick, because they're involved with they're both pastors, husband and wife. They're both involved with the school choice proposition or idea or notion. It's good to have charter schools as opposed to the public schools that have been failing our kids for years. But before I bring them on, I want to briefly talk about the fact that why I'm very disappointed in how the media shapes the narrative, the political discourse. They have failed. But one thing in particular I want to talk about is how they, I think there's a need to redefine the term, or there's a need to go over the definition of racism. There's a distinction between something being racialized or racially insensitive and racism. Racism is something distinct. And this is, and I get this definition, and I think the experts use this definition, or many experts use this definition, or Dr. Claude Anderson uses this definition. Racism is a group-based phenomena. It's about groups competing, right, for limited resources and power and control. And yet the media is always talking about, look at this racist and look at that racist and look at. So, we need to have a debate. We need to have a discussion, a dialogue in the nation about the meaning of the word racism. That's point one that I wanted to make. Then point two that I wanted to make is this. I saw Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talk about why Hispanics should get reparations. This is absurd. This is absurd, because I was just going over, because there's a misunderstanding what reparations are about. Reparations are supposed to be about repairing past damage. Now, Black Americans, and this is another thing that I wanted to, many of the Black folks who are your pundits and talking heads on TV are not Black Americans who are the direct descendants of slaves. Black Americans who are the direct descendants of slaves. This is important because why? I looked up the demographics, and Black Americans who are the direct descendants of slaves have been in this country since the 1600s. Okay, I looked at the numbers. There weren't that many here in the 1600s, but by the late 1600s and early 1700s, yeah, our percentage had grown significantly, right? And then, and this Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says that Hispanics should get reparations because of the New Deal and their redlining. Hello. First of all, Hispanics came, their numbers their numbers were like 100,000, let's see, I have it in the US. Let me look at it. I've got to fix my glasses to see. Their numbers were like, where is it? In the 1840s, in the 1850s, there was 116,000 Hispanics, right? And there were 3,600,000 Blacks in the 1850s. Then there's no number for Hispanics in the 1860s and 70s. I don't know why, but they were 383,000 in the 1880s. But, this was the first time they were here in the 1850s. By the 1900s, there were 503 Hispanics. By the 1910s, there were 797. They made 1.2 million by 1920. And the New Deal, let's see, the New Deal was probably 1920, 1930. I don't know the exact date. Someone out there probably knows. But Hispanics were 2 million in 1940. And Blacks were 12 million in 1940. So Blacks Black folks, Negroes we were called, were here involuntarily, and we were here since the 1600s. Hispanics were here voluntarily. They weren't slaves, and they were only 2 million by the 1940s when the New Deal was around. And so Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying that Hispanics are entitled to reparations because of the New Deal. Because of the New Deal, they're entitled to reparations because of redlining that was taking place. And she was being interviewed by a Black man. He was like, nodding. I mean, the idea, I think Black Americans would be outraged by that. Also, the fact that she took that term New Deal. Remember when Trump was campaigning and he said that Black Americans are entitled to a new deal for Black America. We need a new deal for Black America. And I think that's reasonable given that we've been here since the 1600s. And by 2053, we're going to be at zero median wealth. Something has gone wrong. I'm not blaming anything, but I'm saying something is screwy there. Someone has screwed up. Something is screwed up, right? If we're going to be at zero median wealth by 2053. And so therefore, Black Americans need a new deal. Yeah, I go along with that because something happened. And we need to examine what happened so it doesn't happen again. But for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to say that Black Americans Hispanics are entitled to reparations because of the New Deal. You see that play on words? Do you see how they're just mess? Everything is just screwed up as far as I'm concerned. It's just a complete and utter mess. And we got to get out of this situation. No kidding. We've got to get out of this situation. We need to be able to talk about things accurately. The liberals, the Democrats take terms and twist them so they're advantageous, so they're beneficial for what they're propositioning, their argument. They twist the terms, just like racism. I think we need to have a national discussion on this is why I would challenge these folks, these talking heads, these pundits. I would go on television and challenge them. Well, that's not my definition of racism. This is why they don't want to have people like Dr. Claude Anderson on, because I've asked Washington Journal to have him on. He used to be on with Al Sharpton. And that's another thing that I want to mention regarding the Super Bowl. Al Sharpton tweeted something to the effect that, I'm not going to be going, Gladys Knight sung the national anthem. Did she sing the national anthem? I'm not, or America the Beautiful, I don't know. He said, I'm not going to be taking the midnight train to Georgia. Now Al Sharpton is a man that denied that there was documentation or data that proved that illegal aliens and high immigration adversely impacted Black America. This man denied that data exists. You guys remember I did that interview with him when I went to the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Summit when I first started the radio show. And I asked him to come on several times, and he never did. But anyway, let me bring on my guests. It's pastors, husband and wife team, Gwen and Charles Patrick, and we both attended the School Choice 2020. Check out the website. Because why? Because you're the parent, they're your kids, and so you choose. What school do they go to? And with School Choice, schoolchoice2020.org, check out the website. With School Choice, the money, each child has in various districts is allocated a certain amount of money. That money goes with your child. Does that make sense? So for instance, now I think certain districts, children get $8,000. Those are the more affluent neighborhoods. And then other districts, kids get like $17,000. Kids are allocated $17,000 for their kid. So in other words, when you choose School Choice, that money, that $17,000 for your child goes with your child to whatever school you choose. Does that make sense? So this is why, since the public schools have been failing the students in Los Angeles, it is now appropriate for parents to choose what schools they're going to send their children to. And the money that is allocated in your district for your child goes with your child to whatever school you choose. Does that make sense? Anyway, I want to welcome Charles and Gwen Patrick to the Naked Truth Report. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Catherine Wells. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us on.
Oh, you're both on. Okay, that's fantastic. So you were at the School Choice event yesterday. So give us your thoughts. You ran a charter school in Compton, both of you, and the charter school's name was Synagogue Christian Fellowship. It was a Christian school, a charter school, and you ran it in Compton. So tell us about that.
Yes, it was actually called Fragment High under our nonprofit Fragment House Mission International, and we ran it from 2001 to 2006. Mainly, what we found is that during the week, churches are ghost towns. You can shoot a shotgun and wouldn't hit anyone. So we started talking to different pastors. Once we saw that it was very helpful to have children come into a church environment they sort of calmed down, even though we were getting the children who had been dismissed from the Compton Unified School District from Inglewood, which we had another charter school there, and from LA Unified, we had a couple of charter schools there. We found out that we were getting those who had been dismissed or they could not go back into the school. But even then, the school district did not like us because we were getting their ADA, and we were not getting their ADA. Charter schools are public schools. Well, what we started doing was talking to other pastors and letting them know what they could do with those schools in different areas. And before long, we had 5 charter schools. So we saw that it was helping the children who were graduating students. And in one year, we had more students going to college than they were going in the entire Compton Unified School District.
Well, tell us why you're pro charter schools. Why? Tell my listeners why charter schools are a good thing.
You can become more. You can do a lot of things with them. You don't have to stay with the old terms that the regular public schools have, because I could set up a charter school, which I found out growing worms if I wanted to, and teach children how to grow worms and do something, show them education, teach them about how they can multiply those different things that they're growing, worms that they're growing, and do something with them. Teach them to learn math. They'll have a desire to learn math because they can see the worms multiplying. So the charter schools, you can become very innovative with charter schools. You don't have to stay within the same mold that the regular public school has. Gwen?
And then also with the charter schools, we were able to focus on the real needs in the community. You know, our kids were kids that were pregnant minors, teen moms, kids that were the failing non-college bound dropouts, kids, you know, that had been incarcerated from camp, pretty much the push-outs. And there were quite a few of them in the local community. We were even getting phone calls. We began to get phone calls from the district and even from police departments, child welfare and attendants that would say, do you have any room? We were never without students in those seats.
That's right.
Because of the need for a difference, something that was beyond the traditional public school system that was being offered, that was failing at that time.
Yeah, so public schools have been failing our Black American students for a long time.
Yes, they have.
And tell us why you think that is.
Well, there's no competition. There's no desire to have something better than what you use. They've been using the same terms, the same curriculum for years. They haven't found out anything more innovative to really motivate the children. I, in fact, learned a way to actually have a project-based curriculum that would teach children how to build a city underwater, teach them how to do something more creative than what they're getting in the regular schools today.
Mm-hmm.
And then also what was happening, we began to see, especially our Black kids, they were in our environment all day long for the 6 to 8 hours, because we even had a night school for kids that had to work during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids would leave from our safe environment and then have to go home. And we attended enough funerals of teenagers to know that, hey, you know, they're living in a toxic situation in their homes and the communities. It was nothing for kids to come the next day after school was over one day and come back the next day and say, guess what? You know, Pastor Patrick, so-and-so got shot, so-and-so got killed, so-and-so gang was against so-and-so. We even had, just to let you know the mentality. Now, you know, most times in the Black community, the church is like sacred turf, off limits. But there were times when we would come back and to the school, and we see gang paraphernalia
on our walls
written on. Yeah, you know, the beauty of it was that the kids still did have the mentality of, okay, you know, this is not right. This is just not right. We got to do something about this. But this primarily affected our African American kids. You know, the hopelessness. One kid was saying, if I could just turn, we would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? This one kid said, I want to be age 21. That's all I want to be in life, is I want to get to age 21.
That's a sad state of affairs.
Yes,
How do you think we got to this point? Like I said, like I was saying in my intro, Black Americans have been here since the 1600s in small numbers, naturally.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
I think in 1610, what I looked at is like maybe 60 Black Americans were here in 1610, but we were here. And some people will argue that we were here even before that. I haven't looked into that in any depth, so I don't know any truth to that, but I'm going by what I look on Wikipedia, looking at those demographics. So we've been here 400 years. We're going to be at zero median wealth by 2053. Why do you think we're at this point? We're at this where things are so bad, so dire?
Okay, you want me to go first? Okay, this is really our heartbeat. Our communities in the Black community, even on the east side, which is always was considered Watts Compton, those communities, we might have been poor, but Black families built those communities. There was pride in the neighborhood. Our yards looked good. There might have been homes that were considered low income, but there was such a pride in the community, and parents were struggling but raising their kids to be respectful, to fear God. There wasn't a Black person, I don't care whatever church it was in those days, and I'm talking about, in the 50s and even the 60s, your community was strong. You saw the two-parent families. You didn't see the breakdown of the high crime and all that going on. And those communities were beautiful, and some are still there. But then when there began to be a change, there began to be a dependency on the welfare system, to me, the lie that came into the Black community that said, we'll give you money if Black woman, you don't marry that man. Black man, don't marry that woman, and we'll give you more money. And so that puts in a person just a sense of dependency, even bordering on greed, that, would say, hey, I'd rather sacrifice what I can build as far as a family, because our parents struggled. We talk even now about the beans and rice and potatoes that, and you talk to a lot of Black families that you weren't even familiar with, and we found out that we all were eating the same stuff. Our parents were working hard, and mom was at home for the most part, And so the breakdown of the Black family, I think the system of welfare just really was designed to kill us. And then, of course, you're going to add the abortion issue. And, but if you destroy a family from its core, from the way God designed it, husband and wife, and then children, and of course, all with a strong sense of respect and love for God, that you begin to break that down, it destroys the community, and it begins to build apathy, and begins to build the hopelessness, because it's dissected intentionally from the center, from that core. We've got to get back to the core. We got to get back to God, family, community.
Mm-hmm. I've never heard you say that before, Gwen, and that's actually one of the things that I say consistently, that the family is the most important thing. The family is the most important institution in society.
Yes.
And we are so dysfunctional now. In fact, someone on my Facebook page asked the question, what do you think about Iyanla Vanzant? Because she has that show Fix My Life or something like that. And I watched that show. I've watched it a few times. I don't watch it consistently. I've watched it a few times, and it's such dysfunction. I've never seen, it's foreign to me, that kind of dysfunction, because I had a mother and a father. Mm-hmm. But the dysfunction that you see, it's just like what is that? Outer limits. It's like that Twilight Zone. I cannot relate to that kind of dysfunction. Anyway, there's my sponsors, John and Bo. They're my country duo, John and Bo, their country duo. There's my music. We're going to take a break. And when we come back from the break, are you open to taking phone calls?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. When we come back from the break, we're going to take phone calls. We're speaking to pastors Gwen and Charles Patrick, who ran several charter schools in Compton. and they went to the schoolchoice2020.org meeting. That's the website. You can go to schoolchoice2020.org and check out their information about why you're the parent, it's your child, then it's your choice what school they go to. And the money that is allocated for your child goes with your student. It follows your student to any school that you choose for your child. We'll be right back. This is a Naked Truth Report. I'm Kathleen, and we'll be right back.
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, we're all one big American team. On land and sky and under the seas, protecting all our American dreams. Whoa.
Welcome back. Welcome back. That's John and Bull, the country duo, sponsors of the Naked Truth Report. And also don't forget to check out ustechworkers.org. That's another sponsor of the show. And, go to ustechworkers.org and, show them some love. I know there are tech workers out there, right? Join the organization, get involved, make a difference, make it happen. So we're also talking about US school choice, or rather schoolchoice2020.org. But, I'm still furious about, I'm going to be, to me, let me tell you something, folks. Every Black American who's the direct descendant of slaves, Joanne Reed is not a direct descendant of slave, okay? Her parents are from the Congo, and yet she's on MSNBC speaking for Black Americans, speaking about what is racism. Kamala Harris is not a direct descendant of slaves. In fact, Obama wasn't either. Do you understand? When you look at you go to Wikipedia and you look at the demography, is that how you say it? The demographics? The first Black Americans, some people have a different theory. I haven't looked into it in detail, so I can't talk about it convincingly or accurately. I haven't looked into all that stuff about, I know the man that wrote the book, They Came Before Columbus. I can't, what was his name? Ivan Van something. But anyway, but if you go on Wikipedia, you see that Black Americans were here in 1620. Not many. I think it was like 20. But then, by 1630, 1640, 1650, there were like hundreds. 1660, there were hundreds. 1670, I think there were thousands, right? And in the 1700s, just go and look at the Wikipedia stuff. And so Alexandria Cortez is saying that Latinos are entitled to reparations. We came involuntarily. We've been here 400 years. So why, and I blame Black politicians and Black pundits and Joanne Reed and Kamala Harris and Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and Obama. See, we wouldn't be in this mess about that DACA business, but for Obama doing an executive order on that crap. Because why should kids who came here as non-citizens, why should they get free college? Why? This, everything is just twisted. And this is why I say the Immigration Act of 1965 was the worst thing for Black Americans, was the worst thing for us. Because it, just when we're getting our head above water right after civil rights movement, here comes the Immigration Act of 1965. And these people want their stuff. They're looking out for their group. And this is how we end up with Kamala Harris and how we end up with Joanne Reed on MSNBC talking about Black folks. It's just disgusting. Anyway, Charles, I just had to get that off my chest. I'm very upset about that. And so I always talk about the importance of the Black family. And you see, we had Black families. They always say that the Black family was disintegrated because of slavery, but that's not true. We had more two-parent families before whites. Talk about that.
Well, like my father and mother, we came from Alabama. I was born in 49. My parents came out here in California in 1955. And it was a lot different. We missed a lot of things in the South. We were not there when they blew up the 4 young children in the church. The church they had lost. They were at Sunday school in Birmingham. But I was there. I came back and saw a lot of things happen. I saw a lot of change happening eventually. But yeah, we were out here and we were able to do a lot of things. And my heart was just going out to young people. We've always had a ministry to young people, reaching back to them, wanting to help them. So when we started those charter schools, our aim was to give them, refocus them, help them to learn about the hostility. If they saw the hostility in the community, my wife used the word, a different word. I used the word hostile, but the families were really, they were really strong because there was a two-parent families and two-parent parents in those homes. And so as a result, my dad would take me fishing. He would teach me a lot of things about fishing, about just being a man. And she took me through like a short kind of a rite of passage. I had to look. He took me somewhere in Hollywood and dropped me off. I said, I want you to get home. I said, well, you're not going to take me, so you get home on your own. You know where you live. And I had to get home. But the various things he did, took me, all the boys out to 5th Street, when we were about 10 or 11, and we saw a lot of homeless people on the street. He said, don't you ever let yourself get to the place where you see where these people are. Don't ever let yourself get to that place where you're begging, you're sleeping on the street. And we saw that it stayed in our minds. So there were things they did, our parents did, that helped us be who we are today. And I have 3 brothers. I have 4 brothers and 8 sisters. My father we had 12 children in our family.
Wow, that's a big family.
Yes, a big family.
Mm. We used to have big families.
Again?
We used to have big families.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Right. We weren't having abortions.
Same with us, Kathleen. It was a common thing in African American communities and Black.
Oh, don't say African American.
I'm sorry. I'm Habitized, and I'm doing better. I'm feeling proud of who I am.
Right.
In this country of Black Americans.
Right.
And everybody went to church. My mom, it was dad, and it was the 5 kids. It was the 6 kids. It was 6 of us. Mm-hmm. And we were not ashamed to have a big family. Well, a lot of our educated professionals, you begin to talk today about having more than 1 or 2 kids, and you're ostracized. In those days where the foundation of our communities and our education and the best educational institutions for Black people were back east, where those teachers poured into kids. It had nothing to do with money and affluence. It was about, boy, you are going to learn and you are going to be better than any white person, Hispanic person, Native American, Chinese, anything ever. That pride was built into us because you are Black and you have a lot going for you. You are proud. You are going to be strong. You're going to build a strong family like mom and dad. But there began to be now this homogeneous kind of a flow that we even have, unfortunately, now, to where that's not important. What's important now is get it for yourself and on your own. And it's just so sad. But you're right. We were strong. That's what made us to be the desired persons. In envy of other races. You talk to them and they'll tell you, Black people, wow, we raised and breastfed white children. I mean, there was a strength that God had put into us to help build this nation, and Black people need to remember that we never ever forget our history.
Well, yeah, a lot of folks don't know our history, and that's why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez can say that Hispanics who came here voluntarily and just, you just had 100,000 in the 1850s, and then, you only got to 2 million in the 1940s, and that's why, and they came voluntarily, and yet we've been here since the 1600s, and that's why you can have someone like that say, they're entitled to reparations, and Black folks, these Black folks who are liberals and progressives and socialists will agree, because they don't know the history, and they don't know that it was the late 60s and early 70s, that free sex feminism sexual revolution that just created decay and destruction of the American family and of the fabric of society. These young kids don't know that. They grow, as I mentioned before, all American families, 50% only have one parent of all American families. So they don't even know the importance. And this is why you have terms like toxic masculinity. This is, I had Ian on last week talking about, we went to the National Association of Scholars, and they're teaching this in schools. Toxic masculinity, and gender, 66 genders. And going back to the Virginia governor, late-term abortions. This is where we're headed. This is where we are. And you know, and
Yeah.
and Kamala Harris, what did she say? Get rid of private insurance. Just get rid of it. You see, this is, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it started back with Margaret Sanger. I mean, the people they had setting up a plan to just totally annihilate the black community. I mean, just do this systematic abortion, you know, and we knew people who were black Americans who worked in those abortion clinics, and anytime they got something new, they would come and call us and say, you know, we just got a new wing to our abortion clinic. I said, well, do you? And she's a Christian. I said, do you know what you're saying? Why are you telling me that? I don't want to hear that stuff. We should be preserving our black children, not letting them go like that.
You know, when Kathleen agreed, when we're talking about this subject, period, about Black Americans, our history, why these things are happening, this fake sexual revolution, all these things that we got swept into, that was not a part of Black DNA, okay? We were always taught to, you be respectful, men, you respect your women, you respect your men. Why? Because we had that history of slavery, okay, where we were separated from our traditional husband-wife family. We had to fight to get that family back. Because of slavery, okay, but families came back together by the grace of God. And so all of this revolution in sexuality is totally contrary, if you know your history, if our kids are taught their history, to what built our communities. And, you know, and I have to say this, when I was running for office for state assembly, we were campaigning in Long Beach, and you know, not to put down, you know, immigrants, they come and do it legally. And then, you know, it's been like that for years and years. But I was talking to this one young man, Hispanic young man, and he was 18, he said, or almost 18. And he was in high school, very articulate, young Hispanic kid. And I said, wow, what do you want to be? You know, and he said, well, when I graduate, I'm going back to Mexico. And I said, oh, okay. He said, because I hate this place. I hate America. And I said, well, you do? I said, well, but are you citizen yet? No, I'm not. And I'm never going to be a citizen of the United States. And I said, well, why not? I'm going to go back and take care of my family. I hate this place. And that kind of taught me. I said, wow, look at how strong he said, I would rather be somewhere else and fight in their military than this place where I'm getting all this free stuff. I don't have to be legal in this country. He said, I'm getting everything. I'm going to get everything I can, go to college or whatever. And then I'm going back. He told me I'm going back to Mexico and I'm joining the military so I can fight you guys. Now, you figure, well, he's a kid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But he was speaking his heart with passion. And that hit me that was in 2008. And, I was talking, I just brought that up. I said, they were, Hispanic, Mexican, Central Americans realized the importance of family, how that builds strong communities. I mean, this boy was willing to lay down his life because of his family that he was going back to and hated anything else other than wanting to do that. We've got to get back to having a passion for who we are. I mean,
well, no, we don't know. And this is what, I'm going to segue into why this is important for Black kids to have charter schools so that they can get this, you've got to get this history. They have to know who they are so that they just don't we've given away everything. And this is what the 14th Amendment was written for Black Americans who are the direct descendants of slaves. They say DOS. The 14th Amendment is very explicitly clear in the Slaughterhouse case. And yet Latinos feel that they're entitled to the 14th Amendment. And that's something that Trump was trying to address with this anchor baby business. This is why Black folks do not vote Democrat anymore. I don't care if you don't vote at all. Don't vote Democrat because you must send people a message who have destroyed your group that they can no longer do it. You must send them a message that they can no longer destroy your group. Don't you understand? And this is why you have, and the amazing thing to me is that you have Black folks who are educated, are who have gone to college, and they love Kamala Harris. They love Obama.
Yeah.
And this is amazing. It's like, what are you getting in school? I think they're getting sort of a they're social justice warriors, and they're getting a superficial and shallow understanding of history. They don't have a dad, most of them. That's what it is. So it's generating, the last 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 generations, they're lost, and we need to get back to traditional value. All of America. Mm-hmm. All of America needs to get back to traditional values and standards.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I agree with that. And in fact, when my wife and I have been married, it'll be 44 years this April, and our 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls, we knew that we had to really set a standard in the home. So early when they were first guided, we started having Bible studies with them when they first arrived, 1-year-old, 2-year-old. And by the time they were 3 and 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, every morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, I would wake them up because they had to get them to school with a bullhorn to let them know the importance of it. And I would say, reveille, 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 every single morning for at least 10 to 12 years until they got to the place where they were getting up studying on their own. But we gave them proverbs, we gave them principles from God's word that they still remember today. We had to have those Bible studies every morning for at least an hour, because we want to give them something to fight with, something to lay a good foundation in their hearts. But even today, our children, they have children of their own, and they're teaching their children the right way. That's very important.
And I think, just to add to that, we were radical, probably maybe always have been radical. So those of you out there, don't feel like, oh my goodness, you have these nuts on. Yeah, we were always radical because we didn't know. And you don't know when you have children. You do and follow the word of God best you can, and the Lord guides you. But we were part of the early homeschoolers, to the point of, this is when public schools weren't so bad, but we found that we didn't want to send our kid to the local public schools because there was so much fighting and violence, and girls at that time were getting pregnant and all that. And we said, we need to take charge of our children's education and their safety, and preserve what we've been teaching them since they were 1 and 2 years old in the Bible. And so we did, for several years, homeschool our children as best we knew and could, and teaching them Black history and French language. And when we finally did release them back to public school, we did choose a school out of our district. Okay, we lived in Compton. And do you know that all those children went to the top? They didn't miss any socialization, okay? And I think that's sometimes a fear of some parents that say, oh no, my kid's going to be a weirdo. But our kids were the top of their class academically, scholars. They graduated with honors. They were the popular kids. I mean, all that, their last 2 years of high school.
Well, thank you. So I hear my music. So thank you, Charles and Gwen, Patrick. I really appreciate you being on the show. And I know you're going to get involved with the School Choice 2020, the School Choice. You're going to work with that network that you met, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, we are.
Okay, very good. I'm so glad you were able to be a guest on the Naked Truth Report. And thank you, Truth Warriors, for listening. And I'll see you next week. Bye.